Hello everyone, Olive here, and welcome to my Book Courtship Tag. I found this tag by complete accident, and it seems like the absolutely perfect excuse to talk about books that I love, as well as books that I have not had a chance to read yet, but cannot wait to read. So here we go, Book Courtship Tag. Phase 1, Initial Attraction. What is a book that I bought because of the cover? Now, I am a firm believer that you should not judge a book by its cover. Rose, who loves to judge books by their cover. But we all have moments of weakness, myself included, so here is a book that I did judge by its cover, The Three Sisters Bar and Hotel. Now, the thing that got me about this cover are these mountains right here. Now, these mountains are the Three Sisters in the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, right outside of Banff. And I grew up in Alberta. I've gone to Banff and have hiked around the Banff area for my entire life. So of course, if I see a book with the Three Sisters right outside of Banff, of course I'm going to want to read it. I do have mixed feelings about this book though. It was incredibly well researched, and especially if you know the Banff area well, there are certain things that the author writes about that you will recognize. But the ending did fall a little bit flat for me. However, it did keep me pretty intrigued while I was reading throughout. I gave it a 3 stars, or 3.5 if I could, on Goodreads. Phase number 2, First Impressions. What is a book that I picked up because of the summary? Shantaram! So this book, I read the summary and instantly knew that I had to read it, which is saying something, especially because it is a massive tome and the font is really small. I guess to clarify, it technically wasn't the summary of the book that got me really hooked. It's actually the biography of the author that got me hooked. And I say biography because the book is basically about the author, but it's not an autobiography. I'm sure that Feather knows the term for that. But here it is. Gregory David Roberts, like the hero of his novel, spent many years as a fugitive. In 1978, after his divorce, losing custody of his daughter, and being convicted of a series of robberies committed to support his heroin habit, he was jailed in an Australian maximum security prison and sentenced to 19 years. He then escaped from prison, scaled the wall, lived in New Zealand, Asia, Africa, Europe, mostly in Bombay, however, and worked there as a counterfeiter, smuggler, gunrunner, and street soldier for the Bombay Mafia. Then he was finally captured in Germany, served out his sentence there and Australia, and while he was serving his sentence, he actually wrote this book. So, what more could I ask for in a book? In case you haven't seen my other videos, I'm a massive criminology nerd and book nerd, so this book really does it for me. And I plan to read Shantaram definitely in the next couple of months, so I will let you know how that goes. Phase number 3 is Sweet Talk. What is a book with excellent writing? The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson is excellently written. I adore this book. The writing really kept me on my toes the entire time. I'm not a massive fan of thrillers because since I love criminology so much, I usually love true crime, so thrillers don't usually do it for me, but the instant I started reading this book, I could not put it down, not only because of the plot, but because of how Stieg Larsson writes his scenes. And this book is one of those rare unicorns for me where it is a solid 5 out of 5 stars. Did I just inadvertently say I believe in unicorns? Phase 4, First Date. What is the first book in a series that made me want to read the rest of the series? Easy peasy, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I first started reading The Mortal Instruments back in high school because of the recommendation of a friend, and I have been obsessed with this series ever since. I love Cassandra Clare. I do not care that I am no longer high school age. I will read everything Cassandra Clare ever writes. Phase 5, Late Night Phone Calls. What is a book that has kept me up late at night reading? Staying true to what I said in Phase 4, Cassandra Clare makes another appearance. Lady Midnight came out last year when I was at the busiest time in my master's program, so I decided to read Lady Midnight, as well as write multiple research papers, do lots of research projects, I don't even know what else I did, and do it all at the same time. And it was worth every moment. Phase 6, Always on My Mind. What is a book that I could not stop thinking about? The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I read the first 20 pages not knowing what to think initially. I had picked it up because it was super popular. as I've mentioned before, I'm not usually crazy about reading thrillers. However, I had to know what everyone was talking about. But once I got past the first 20 pages, I was so hooked. I could not stop thinking about this book. I read it every waking moment. I couldn't stop thinking about this book while I was reading it, but I also could not stop thinking about it after I was finished reading it. And this is a no spoiler zone, so I'm not going to comment on why that is. However, this book stuck with me for a very long time afterwards, and I still think about it occasionally and recommend it to people who have just seen the movie because they really, really, really need to read the book. Phase number 7. What is a book in which I love the way it feels? The Rosie Project! I think I love the way this book feels for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, Rose gave it to me as a going away gift when I moved to Toronto. So, I mean, obviously pretty special because of that. Number 2, it was the first new book I had had in quite a while when Rose gave it to me. So just that new book feeling is something special. And also, I love the way how, this is so weird, I like the smoothness of this book, but I also like the roughness of its edges. Also, this story is just so fantastic, so if you have not read The Rosie Project, you need to get on it. Phase number 8, Meeting the Parents. What is a book that I would recommend to family and friends? I would 110% recommend A House in the Sky to anyone I ever talk to about books. A House in the Sky is absolutely excellent. It is written by Amanda Lindhout and Sarah Corbett. This is actually Amanda's autobiography of when she was kidnapped in Somalia. She was a reporter there and got kidnapped. This book chronicles Amanda's kidnapping and the time following when she was held captive for 15 months before she eventually got rescued. That is not a spoiler, it is on the back. And a really cool thing about Amanda is that she is actually from Red Deer, which is very close to where I grew up. So it's super cool because this book has such a powerful, riveting story. I could not put it down. And not only that, it is true. And not only that, Amanda is right from my backyard in Alberta, Canada. So this book really was something else on so many different levels. Highly, highly, highly recommend. This book also is a rare unicorn, as I apparently call them. It is definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. Phase number 9, Thinking about the Future. What is a book or a series I'm going to reread in the future? As someone who just finished graduate school, who has not a ton of money, I try and only buy books that I know I'm going to reread in the future. And I've always reread books. That's not an issue for me whatsoever. Books are like my friends, just like my plants. I love to reread them and re-experience them, and it's always really fun to go back to a book, especially after you've done some growing up, gone through some different life experiences, and then reread it with a fresh set of eyes. So the obvious answer is Harry Potter here, but to create some diversity, my official answer is anything by Philippa Gregory. I absolutely adore Philippa Gregory books, especially her Tudor court novels, and The White Princess and The Queen's Fool are 2 books that I definitely return to all the time. However, in all honesty, I reread all of her books all the time. I love getting to know the characters, the historical characters that she creates such a beautiful fictional backdrop for, which is based on the truth. I have gotten to a point where I read her novels so often that I know the historical characters / people so well that I will watch documentaries on this time period and be able to fill in the blanks before the commentator says who they are talking about. And that is a source of pride and of course not shame. Phase 10 is Share the Love, or in other words, who do I want to tag for this book tag? Well, all of you should do this book tag because number 1, it is very fun. Number 2, it lets you talk about some of your very favorite books. Number 3, I think it would be really cool to see what Feather and Rose have to say about this book tag. So, I challenge you two to some really awesome courtship book tag. Thank you so much for watching me talk about some of my favorite books. Thank you for stopping by our channel. Make sure to check out both Rose and Feather, and we have some awesome new videos coming your way. And make sure you stay tuned because next week the 3 of us will be doing book club videos on The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Happy reading!